In this video, we're going to find out why Bitcoin could reach the price target of, yes, $750,000 by the year 2026. But we're also going to look at the price movement of Bitcoin because, yes, we're still holding this major support box. But first of all, we're going to go over to the news. Because yes, the founder of BitMEX, 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝘁, predicts that Bitcoin will hit 750,000 to $1 million by the year 2026. And we're going to go over to this interview where he explains how we're going to reach these levels.
So I have to ask, where do you think Bitcoin is going? Is this something that, breaks 100,000? Is this something that breaks 1 million? Is Michael Saylor going to be a hero or the world's biggest L? What do you think?
So my working model is that, we're going to continue chopping around 25, 20, 30,000 this year. As we get to some sort of financial disturbance and people recognize that real rates are negative, if government are growing, if the economy is growing at a nominal rate of 10%, but I'm only getting 5%, 6%, even though it's high, people are on the margin going to start buying other stuff, crypto being one of those things. So coming into 2024, either we get a financial crisis, rates go to zero, or we keep raising rates, but not as fast as governments are spending money because they're just trying to keep people doing things, and the rates are negative. That we get to crypto around 70,000 by the end of 2024, and that's a combination of the crypto halvening event, right? Maybe there's going to be a few ETFs launched by large asset managers in the U.S. and Europe and China, or maybe Hong Kong, to be specific. So we regain the all-time high by end of 2024, and that's when the real fun starts, right? That's when the real bull market starts. And so my mental model for where we could go, I think we're going to go somewhere between 750,000 to $1 million in Bitcoin on the upside, right? And we're going to, whatever the level is, there's gonna be a round number everyone's gonna be focusing on. I guess like Bitcoin hit 69,999, didn't hit 70,000, and then it's gonna go and just crash, 75, 80, 90%, whatever it is, right? Doesn't matter. But yeah, so my upside target-ish is sort of the $750,000 million level, 2026 timeframe, just because, again, I believe this is going to be the largest market in bull market in financial assets we have ever seen in human history.
So yes, this is the take of 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝘁 and what could be the catalyst of this major crisis with the Great Depression worse than 2008. Are we seeing the beginning already? Because if we go over to Peter Schiff's latest post, if bond market yields keep rising at the current pace, we are weeks away from a second far larger wave of bank failures. That would result in the biggest quantitative easing. So what is quantitative easing? Yes, it's money printing from the Federal Reserve to finance the biggest bank failure and bailout. The only way to avert this crisis is for the Federal Reserve to take action before it starts. So are they going to take action before it starts? No, usually not. So we're going to see a massive crisis that will lead to a massive money printing, because if we go over to the next article, yes, the total US debt added 275 billion in a single day. And to understand this perspective, guys, this is half of the market cap of Bitcoin. That's something like 10 million Bitcoin. And yet there are still people that are unsure if they want to buy Bitcoin at $27,000. Guys, let's go over to the charts. Because yes, the last time we saw this major bailout from the banks was exactly here. And afterwards we saw that Bitcoin saw this massive pump towards the upside of 100%. Yes, we saw this dump when the bank failure occurred, but we saw this Bitcoin pumped up from these levels because yes, Bitcoin is a safe haven and the money of the future. And like Elon Musk said, that the monetary system is a scam. Yes guys, dollar cost average into Bitcoin. And guys, if you want to support this channel, smash up the like button and subscribe, because yes, we're going to look at the VPVR on the weekly chart, the volume price range, because we can see we have this major volume support exactly at the $25,000, where we saw that Bitcoin broke this major point of control exactly here, where we saw the breakout of $21,500, and this acted as support, and now we broke the next major volume area, and at the moment we can see that Bitcoin is perfectly holding this major volume support cluster. And this is obviously a major bullish sign, because yes, even though we're going to get this major banking crisis and the crisis from the US, we could expect this dump in the overall markets, but we can see here's a lot of support. And what does it mean? Yes, we can see that in this volume area, we have a lot of buyers that are willing to buy Bitcoin at these levels. So we could expect a major bounce, and then we're going to expect that Bitcoin is going to break this major resistance area at 31,000 US dollars, with the next major range all the way at 36,000 US dollars. And that's why it doesn't matter where you accumulate Bitcoin. If you're going to buy Bitcoin at 20,000 or even at 30,000, guys, it is important that you buy Bitcoin before we're going to see this massive crisis, and that we could expect that Bitcoin is going to come all the way up to my end of the year price target before the halving of 50,000 US dollars. And that we could expect that after the halving, we're going to break the major range and our previous all-time high, and that we're going to break the 100,000 US dollar level. But guys, let's go on the lower time frames to find out what is going to happen in the immediate short term. Because on the daily chart, we can perfectly see that Bitcoin is still holding this range, this major support box at 27,600 US dollars. We saw that the price came all the way back down to the levels of 27,180 US dollars. But like I told you in the previous video, that I expect that we're going to hold the 38.2 Fibonacci retracement level. This perfectly happened. And we can see that yes, this was previous resistance, which now act as support. And we are still forming a higher low for Bitcoin, so overall this looks extremely bullish. But we're going to look at the next price target before we're going to look at the pattern that might give us this indication that we're going to get this bullish continuation all the way to the 61.8. And yes, this is going to be our next price target, because yes, this was this major support zone round about the 29,000 US dollars, where we saw that Bitcoin broke this range and we came all the way back down to the 25,100 US dollars, and Bitcoin was moving within this range. But at the moment we're trying to attempt to break out from this range. So we could expect some major resistance at the 61.8, but if we're going to look at the next price target, yes, this would ultimately be the 78.6 Fibonacci retracement level, where we can see a lot of previous resistance. So I could expect, if we're going to break this range of the 61.8, that we're going to see a consolidation in between the 78.6 and the 61.8. But let's go on the 4-hour chart. Because yes, on the 4-hour chart, we can see that we broke this very important trend line, and we saw this massive pump for Bitcoin all the way to the levels of 28,600 US dollars. And then we came all the way back down and we held this upwards trend. And we broke it exactly here. So now we're going to remove this trend line, because we broke this trend line towards the downside. And you can see that Bitcoin came all the way back down to the 38.2, which is exactly here. And we saw this perfect bounce from this level, and we formed this trend line, this bullish trend line. And we can see that Bitcoin formed a double bottom, which is also known as a W pattern. And the breakout target from this W is going to be this major range high, where we can see that Bitcoin needs to break this level so that we can come all the way to the top of this range, which is at 29,000 US dollars. So we can definitely say that Bitcoin is in this bullish structure, because we had this high and now we can see that Bitcoin formed a higher high, and we can see this double bottom on the 4-hour chart, which is extremely bullish. But let's go on the 1-hour chart for Bitcoin. And yes, Bitcoin perfectly held this upwards trend line, and we can see that on the 1-hour chart we are forming the symmetrical triangle, and a symmetrical triangle is a neutral pattern. It could break towards the downside and also towards the upside. But if we're going to turn on the VPVR on the 1-hour chart, then we can see we have the point of control, this red line, exactly at this level where we saw this bounce. So we got a lot of support here. So we could expect that the price movement of Bitcoin is first going to consolidate and retest this support before we're going to see a breakout in either direction. And what is going to be our price target? If we're going to zoom out, the price target from a symmetrical triangle is going to be the width of this triangle. So we're going to take it over to the potential breakout point. If we're going to see a bullish move, we could expect that yes, Bitcoin is going to come back above the 29,000 US dollar level. But if we're going to get this bearish breakout, we could expect that Bitcoin has a price target all the way at 26,000 US dollars, where we got this major support box. So yes, this would mean that Bitcoin would come all the way back down to the range low. So how we're going to trade this move? If we're going to get this bullish move, we should trade the breakout. And this means we're waiting for a breakout and a retest of this trend line and also the support. And then we can enter this long position with a price target of 29,000 US dollars. But if we're going to get this breakout and this retest of this breakout zone and also the bottom of this zone, we can take it all the way back down to the bottom of this range. So this means if we're going to take this long position, you're going to enter exactly here after the breakout with the price target all the way at 29,000 US dollars, and my stop loss I would put underneath the previous low, not under this low but under this low, to be really sure that we're not going to see a fake out and that our position is going to be closed. Bitcoin breaks this trend line and comes back above, so that's why we're going to put our stop loss exactly here round about the 27,122. But if we're going to see this bearish breakout, we're going to enter a short position exactly here after we saw this confirmed breakout, and the price target is going to be all the way back down at the bottom of this range. Let me just remove this long position, and our stop loss is going to be over the previous wick. Because yes guys, we can see a lot of fake outs that the price breaks out and that we're going to get a rejection exactly in these levels, and that the price movement comes all the way back down and that we're going to get this bearish breakout. Always position your stop loss underneath the previous major highs. So yes guys, now you know how to take the next trade on Bitcoin. But guys, remember to dollar cost average, because yes, Bitcoin is not going anywhere, and even though we're going down to the 20,000 US dollars, this is just a major opportunity to load up even more Bitcoin. And if you want to trade on the spot or even on the leverage market, go over to Bybit, OKX or even FedEx, where you receive a major deposit with my links and dollar cost average into Bitcoin, and make sure to be for crypto, and we see each other in the next video.